Set. 4, 3, 1.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Sunday Morning Quarterback. Today, we are 5 pastors who love ministry, leadership, and sports. And we got the one and only, the Bear, coming from South Georgia, Pastor J.C. Hitzing. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great after this weekend. How are y'all?
Yeah, you're loving the Gator Chomp. Looking good this weekend. John's coming from D.C., about to get on a train.
Yep, about to head back home for a couple of days and off to Atlanta. It's a busy week, but thankful to be here.
Nice, John. I appreciate the commitment. You know, we're missing Adam today because he's on his way to Monday Night Football, which he told us he was selling his tickets. He's just flip-flopping all the way back and forth. And, Dad, you look like you're coming fresh off the John Deere lawnmower in your Santa Claus green shirt there.
I should be in my blue and white. 2-0, Dallas looking good. Offense, defense. Can it get any better?
That's why Adam didn't come on, because anytime Dallas looks good, he opts out. But John will take the smoke for him today. Paul's got his world-class library coming there from his North Georgia office.
I don't know about world-class. It's just a bunch of hand-me-down stuff. I have no idea what to do with those things back there, but here I am. So here we go.
Nice. Here you are. Here we go. Well, hey, we'll talk a little bit about sports on the front end, and on the back end, we're going to talk a little bit about ministry and talk about how we're all kind of tied together. But, fellas, let's jump into it. And guys, I got to say, let's talk pros first, and then, JC, I know you're chomping at the bit to talk about them Gators. We're going to talk about them in topic 2. But, Dad, before we jump in, I think you and I need to do something publicly. I think we need to eat a little bit of crow and publicly apologize to Mike McCarthy. I have been bad-mouthing that man and saying I don't want him, but you know what? He's turned a new leaf, and I'm not saying John's going to call me delusional and say I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, and I ain't talking about the Super Bowl. I'm talking about today. And the reality is Mike McCarthy is coaching the offense just the way he needs to, because he knows he has the best defense in the league in the second coming of Lawrence Taylor. Dad, what do you think?
Yep, I apologize to our coach. I tell you what, he's got our offense humming. They're getting out of the huddle quick. They look crisp. The wide receivers are in movement when they catch the ball. Dak Prescott looks sure of himself. And I love the way that he's got our teams just methodically going down the field, making sure our defense is at full strength, getting the breaks that they need, no interceptions, no turnovers. So they look good in 2 games. I can only imagine what they're going to look like in about 10 weeks.
And, you know, John's just loving this because he's sitting in his former football lover city, Washington, where he used to be a fan of the Redskins. We don't even say Commanders. And he's just loving this because he's thinking our delusion is taking us further. But, John, even you got to own it. Our defense.
Let me jump in, okay? Hey, it's still early in the season. We know Dallas plays most of their good games early in the season. And Mike McCarthy's coached a lot of regular season wins. And that's about all.
Super Bowl? Do we have a Super Bowl?
Hey, Super Bowl. Hey.
Hey, we're just living in the moment. I don't even care about the Super Bowl. I'm living in today. But anyway, that's enough Cowboy talk. I think we all know that they're the best team in the league right now. So, JC, what popped out to you on this NFL Sunday this past weekend?
So when I was looking over what we were talking about today, and I was actually watching back and forth between the Chiefs game and another game that was on, and one thing that popped out to me, I don't know if you guys paid attention to this or not, but everybody thinks Travis Kelce and Mahomes kind of stirred the drink in Kansas City. And I don't think people were giving a lot of love to Chris Jones, quite possibly the best defensive player in the league at the moment. And I think they were missing him against the Lions.
Absolutely.
And he popped. He flashed. In fact, I watched the game for 5 minutes, and in a crucial moment in the game, he didn't force a sack. I believe it ended up being an incomplete pass, but it was on 3rd down in the red zone, and it made the difference late in the game there. And I think he may not be the most valuable player, but he's pretty close to the most valuable player on that team when it comes to defense and the overall of what they're trying to do. So,
man, I agree. They looked sharp when he came back. John, outside of America's team, what popped and caught your eye this Sunday?
nobody has America's team on their mind. That's just the two of you guys. But I think we got to go back to the 49ers. I said they were going to put it together. They're putting it together. They look great. They're playing great. So long as McCaffrey stays healthy, I still have them playing in the Super Bowl. So I'm there. It was great. They've had two great games. I'm looking forward to watching them play.
John, we play them at San Fran week 5. So that's
a
number
loss
1.
for you guys. That's the loss for you guys.
Then, Dad, we play Paul's Dolphins in the middle of this toward the end of the season. And hey, here's the thing: we're just getting our measuring stick out all season. We're going to test ourselves, but we're not talking about Dallas. Paul, what did you think about your Dolphins last night, rattling out 2-0 on the road against a divisional rivalry?
Yeah, it was a good game. It was tough though. I will say it wasn't the cleanest of games, that's for sure. But there are things that are still exciting to know about what the Dolphins are doing. They're putting things together. Last week, the story was Tyreek Hill. This Sunday, it was Waddle, and he did a great job. And, Tyreek still had a touchdown. That's not a bad thing. It wasn't for huge yards or anything else like that, but you can still see the offense continuing to hum, which is encouraging. All right. But at the same time, there's still things that they need to make sure that they put together. But I'll tell you, if this offense continues to do what it's doing, Miami will be a dangerous team in the AFC. I'm just putting that out there, and there's no other way around it, especially if Tua stays healthy the way that he's is right now, and he continues to work in that trajectory, and he stays sharp like he is, both on his feet and passing. Like, the kid's just dangerous right now, along with the offensive weapons that you can just throw to. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So, hey, that was good. Kudos to the defense. They sacked Mac Jones 3 times. I'm okay with that. So, overall, they're 2-0, baby. It's
they
good.
are. The question is, can he stay healthy?
That's the question.
And Paul, another thing that was popping in my mind yesterday is, Adam and John were laughing at you when you started predicting that the Falcons were going to be any good. But look at the Falcons go. The Dirty Birds are looking good.
John's still shaking his head, but we'll see. We'll see. What happens.
He's a wait and see. I mean, it's only with 2 weeks, but hey, but let's go through the league real quick. So I think Jordan Love looks really good, even though they lost yesterday. I mean, I undersold his stock coming in, and I was wrong about that. The Bills regained their swagger, and man, the Raiders are just tanking. It's going to be bad. I don't know how much longer they're going to give former Patriots coach there. And then, Dad, we'll pass this off here in a minute. Your Bengals 0-2 for the second season in a row. The Bengals, and then Burrow's calf got hurt again. Going to the Music City yesterday, the Titans beating the Chargers. I think Brandon Staley, if he loses one more game, they might just cut him because, man, they got their loaded roster, and their defense stinks. Too much talent. Curious to see what they do there. And I think we got to give credit to Baker Mayfield, man. Even though they played the lowly Bears, Baker is 2-0. He's making Mike Evans look like a pro bowler again. Like, that's my team. Oh, is that your team? Oh, yeah. You're a Bucs fan, right?
It was a great weekend for me. It's not usually the Gators and the Bucs. It's not usually a good weekend, but it was an awesome weekend.
Hey, we were laughing last week.
I was out on Baker.
You were out on Baker?
I had the choice. I thought they should have given, not just because he's a Gator, I thought they should have given Kyle Trask the nod because we've seen what Baker could be, and it just wasn't very good. Much of the time. There was a season there. I think they won 11 games with the Browns. But I will say, man, those guys are playing for him. And I don't know if he was stealing the signals against the Vikings or not, but the Vikings are a good team. They shut down Justin Jefferson in the second half. If you would have told me, if you would have asked me to make a wager on the Bucs being 0-2 or the Bears being 0-2 after 2 weeks, I would have taken the Bucs, not the Bears. I was very surprised by both weeks.
Yep. So, all this talk about Mike Evans getting traded, and here they are sitting, looking pretty. Dad, what are you seeing from your Bengals, and then what else is catching your eye throughout the league?
I tell you, I'm nervous. The Bengals they don't look good. The defense does not look good. Burrows doesn't look good. That calf is beginning to act up again. I hadn't seen anything. They should have beat Baltimore, in my opinion. This was the week to turn it around. So 0-2 again. Now, we saw this happen last year, but there's something different this year. And I can't put my finger on it, but I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on. But you know, it was sad to see Detroit lose. I was hoping that they were going to go on a run. You know, Seahawks are going to be formidable this year. I can see them being right there with the Lions as being the number 4 team. So, you know, it was a close game, but I was really hoping to see them launch. But it was another good season. I was hoping to see a little bit more from Jacksonville, you know, a little bit more offense. Defense played tough. So, but I think people are still trying to figure it out. Offenses are still behind. And so it's going to be a couple of weeks, but I think you'll see the numbers begin to spike, and we'll see who's at the top in a couple of weeks.
Yep, and I tell you what, some of those 0-2 teams that have talent, I mean, they were talking today. 0-2, you can still turn the tide, but 0-3, you lose the locker room and you can get yourself fired real quick. So it's going to be an interesting week 3. And here in a few minutes, we'll do some preacher picks looking forward. But let's shift to college. And, you know, we love, Big Bear, we love bringing people onto our platform and letting them come on the platform and boast in all their glory. So tell us about your Florida Gators, sir. What did you think? How did you feel? I know you were loving it.
I actually was probably one of the few people saying this, but I felt like they had a good chance against Tennessee this weekend. I felt like they really had something to prove. And it really felt like one of those moments where, even though it seems silly for people to consider Billy Napier be on the hot seat in year 2 with what seems to be a really big overhaul of that program, that this felt like a game they really needed to win. And I felt like those guys really believe in Billy and what he's selling and the culture they're trying to build there. And culture is so huge in college football. It may not be in the NFL where those guys are making more money than sense, but in college football, those guys are making a lot more money now than they used to. But culture is huge, man. You got to build it. It takes time. Look at
Colorado. Look at Colorado.
I'm loving Dion. I'm
I mean, he's building a culture there. That's culture right there.
It's funny because we're actually going to talk about culture in our next segment, but keep going, JC.
Yeah. I just think minus Coach Prime. That's a unique situation. I'm not certain you can just replicate that anywhere, anytime, in any situation. But I think it takes a little bit of time to develop that. And so I would like, and also Florida's paying 2 coaches to not coach right now. So to fire Billy Napier and then have to hire a 4th coach they're paying, not a good call. I hope they give him the time he needs. I think winning against Tennessee was a big, no matter what Tennessee ends up being, they may not be who we thought they were at the beginning of the year, but it's a good win right now against a rival at home, a game that you hope to win. They hadn't won in the Swamp since 2003. So it's a game that you felt like they should have won, but also they really needed to win. And I thought they came out inspired. I wasn't happy with some of the false starts and things like that. They really need to clean that stuff up. The kicking game, the special teams looks anything but special. And I think Billy, if he doesn't make it there, he's one of those guys that has a very unique approach to how he builds his staff. They employ 2 offensive line coaches on field positions, because for him, it's like, hey, there's 5 positions. I think you should have 2 coaches. Well, that's cool, but he doesn't have an OC. He's the OC, and he doesn't have a special teams coordinator. So when you leave points on the field, man, you have kicking problems. To me, it just speaks to like, you need somebody there doing that. So I hope he can work it out. He feels like the kind of guy that is going to do what's necessary. He's not too prideful to make changes. So I'm loving our new DC, Austin Armstrong. Defense is top 10 in the nation after being horrendous last year. So they're running the ball. It looks like that's the kind of team they want to be, being physical. It definitely was a tale of 2 halves. They looked dominant in the first half, and the second half kind of let them back in, didn't play this physical, let that offense get going. But overall, I was very pleased with a big win in the Swamp in front of some big recruits. Billy was recruiting on the field at 11:30 at night with those guys. I love that he recruits and Stan Mullen didn't.
Yep.
So I'm loving my Gators right now.
Mhm.
I'm going to love them regardless, but I'm loving what they're doing at the moment. I hope they can continue that into the next coming weeks, especially into Lexington 2 weeks from now.
Absolutely. JC, one of the fun things about where Paul and I pastors, we're right on the Georgia-Tennessee line. So,
Yeah.
I had to do the welcome, and I just said, hey, guys, we're just going to start off with a time of prayer, and we're going to give away 50 boxes for any of you Tennessee fans that are in mourning today, and all the dog fans are, hoo, 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 hoo. And
Oh,
so
gosh.
it got wild. I thought people were going to throw their Bibles at me. But, hey, Dad, can we talk about the SEC right now? What are your thoughts on just the play across the board? It's just been so erratic.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see, especially some of the top dogs, Alabama, even LSU. It's kind of
Georgia didn't look
suspect.
good the other day. Could have
Georgia
lost
didn't
against.
look good. I'm wondering if the portal has something to do with this.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of hard now when you have backups that have come in for, their sophomore year, junior year, and then they come in there ready to go. That's what happens with Alabama all the time. They're retooled. They come in, they learn the system, and then next it's their time up. Well, now with the portal, they don't have to stay. So I'm curious to see what happens with some of these top teams, because this year is going to be very interesting to see who ends up winning the national championship, who even makes the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see the dominance this year, and I wonder if it's just a down year or if it has something to do with the portal.
And it's funny, too, a lot of the conferences that are breaking up are seemingly doing the best right now. And, man, I know y'all probably didn't stay up for it, but, man, that Colorado game the other night, whew, double overtime. And the
Man,
That's
bummer,
wild, man.
it was
The
wild
drama continues,
game.
bro.
Here's the bad part, though. The bad part is that they play Oregon this week without their best player, and then they play USC without their best player. And so
Ooh, that's
Travis
gonna be
Hunter's
tough.
going to be out. But
Are those road games?
I think so. I know they're playing
I'd imagine so. Yeah.
I don't know if it's at Oregon, but you know what though? Shador Sanders, he had the ball, 2 minutes left, down 8, had to go 92 yards. And so this can actually, even though he's missing his number one target, this can actually help his stock. And let's really see how far Deion takes this. And then if they lose, it's like, okay, you didn't really have your best player, but man, I think we all would have loved to have seen that. And then obviously Paul and his Miami Hurricanes are rolling, and let's talk about it, man. Like, it's been a minute since all three Miami team or Florida teams have been clicking, and they're just looking good, still rolling right along, Paul.
Yeah, man. Once again, the story is Tyler Van Dyke. TVD is just playing fantastic. I mean, you got a guy that went 19 for 23 as a quarterback. I don't know what else you can ask for a guy when he's throwing the ball. That's accuracy when you think about that. And so it all comes back to this whole, man, I don't know if I like Tyler Van Dyke or whatever. Dude, the guy is good. I don't care, what everybody else has been saying before. If you don't believe in Tyler Van Dyke now, you need to start looking at him as a serious quarterback in college football. I mean, he just is. Now I get it. They played Bethune-Cookman. That's fine. But still, needless to say, you have a guy that's throwing for accuracy. 19 for 23 is some solid numbers when it comes to the passing game. So, we'll see. It was a Thursday game, kind of anticlimactic going into the weekend because, it didn't feel like college football. You're there on Thursday playing against Bethune-Cookman. What I'm excited about is I want to see what they're going to do on the road, because now they begin their first road game. So they'll be at Temple, they'll be at Georgia Tech. Once we get through those two games, I hope we roll into UNC being 5-0. So that'll be a good game. And I think there we're going to begin to kind of see where we're at in terms of some ACC football. Knowing I don't know where UNC is going to be at. I'm hoping that we come ready to go to play another ranked team, which I'm guessing they'll still be ranked at that time. And we'll see. Right now, we're in the top 20. We might break the top 10 if we keep rolling the way we are. We'll see what happens.
Paul, let me just tell you, if Miami beats UNC at UNC, I'm just gonna predict that Adam's gonna be sick that much.
Oh yeah, he ain't gonna come.
Oh, bro.
And
I'm gonna go ahead and say it because he's put me through the humility. All right, and I'll say humility of having to wear UNC colors on a Sunday.
Oh,
if we beat them, we're putting it right now, right
calling
here.
them out? Are you
Call
calling
him out
them
right
out?
now.
He's
Calling them
wearing
out.
Hurricane colors
Yeah.
on
Oh
Sunday.
yeah.
If we go ahead and beat them at Chapel Hill, it's gonna happen. That's just
Adam,
all
you
I'm gonna
heard
say
it
right
right here first. We're gonna
Wait,
keep.
Paul. So if
What?
Miami loses, then you have to wear North Carolina colors?
He's
now. I'm not
already
worried about
worn.
it. I'm not worried about that.
Okay. So that means
I'm not.
yes.
I heard a yes.
No,
Okay, I heard a yes too.
no.
Okay.
Here's no.
Oh,
It's
there
not.
it
It's
is.
not.
There it is,
It's not a
America.
matter.
There it is.
It's not a matter of yes. It's just not going to happen. That's the
Oh,
issue.
okay.
That's what I'm
Okay.
going to go ahead and say right now. So I hope he
Okay.
can dust off some nice green and orange that he can wear. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, we're
I
gonna
see
keep
it.
that tape. We're gonna keep that tape. Hey,
Keep it.
let's skip to our preacher picks, and it can be college or NFL. Bear, what game are you watching and picking this coming week?
Do I have to pick just one?
Oh no, you pick multiple.
I think obviously Colorado, Oregon's gonna be interesting on the road. It is in Eugene, USC's in Boulder. I think that will help them. I'm looking at as much as I disdain the Florida State Criminals, will be very interesting to see what they do against Clemson. Clemson looks down, but they're a young team with a coach that doesn't believe in the portal. He believes in building his own culture and not going out and getting players in the portal. So it takes time when you graduate guys out of the program or they go into the NFL. So I think as time goes on, they're probably going to look better. I want to know what Florida State looks like. I think they should have lost this weekend. I think it was a miracle if BC doesn't have 18 penalties for 182 yards. They lose that game against a much lesser opponent. So I'm curious to see what happens there if they're for real. Alabama needs a quarterback. We're not used to seeing Alabama look so bad.
Yeah, man.
So against Ole Miss, I think they could get run out of the building. I think Lane Kiffin would
he's salivating right
run
now.
them out of the building. And then one more, as I was looking down the list here, Ohio State, Notre Dame. Notre Dame
Classic game.
looks for real. I'm not usually a Notre Dame guy, but with a new quarterback and Marcus Freeman leading the charge there, you know, I don't know about Ohio State. I'm not sure yet. They've been beating up on some, you know, St. Mary, you know, school for the deaf and the blind so far. So I'm curious to see what they look like against some competition. That would be a good game at prime time at night.
No, I agree. Hey, and let me tell you, man, if Clemson takes another bad L, Dabo could be feeling some real pressure because, I mean, he's had 2 or 3 down seasons. I give Alabama a pass because how many years have they been there and they just rinse and repeat? But these schools are finding, and I texted you, JC, about watch the Florida documentary and how much it took out of Urban just to not only get over the hump, but he couldn't stay relevant for the longevity because it takes so much out. And man, I have so much respect for Saban and how he's done it with his tenure and just even he'll take one down year and then boop, he's right back there. And he just adapted. Dad, is there any games, pro or college, that you're looking at?
Well, I'm actually kind of interested to watch particular teams. Will the Bengals win? Will the Patriots win? You know, they're going to go up against the Jets. And so it's going to be interesting to see if the Jets can right the ship and if there's any hope for this year. But, you know, it's just interesting to see what's going on in New England. There's some frustration going on there. They're really close, but they can blink, especially this Jets defense. They can blink and be 0-3. So that could be really interesting to watch. But, you know, the number one game I'm watching is what most people won't keep their eyes on. It's going to be a big time game. And that's the Cardinals versus the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, that's going to be a barn burner. Will the Dallas Cowboys have 7 sacks and will they hit 40 points again? So that, you know, I'm a little nervous about that game, but I'm going to keep my eyes on that and kind of see how the Cowboys do on that.
That's funny. Hey, another interesting one. Here's an interesting game right here. Denver at Miami. Okay, obviously we think Miami's better, but could Denver go 0-3?
Same
and
thing.
I can't tell. It's like half the people are saying Russ is washed and he's lost his juice, and then the other half is saying he looks fine. It's their defense that stinks. So I don't really know what to make of it, but all I know is Sean Payton is not going to keep losing, and they were productive early, and for whatever reason couldn't get points in the back end. And then another game, the Chargers versus the Vikings. I mean, the Vikings, that thing's going south quick if they can't turn it around. A lot of chatter you're hearing about Kirk Cousins. And so,
same thing with the Chargers. Same thing with the Chargers.
Yep.
Neither one of them have a victory yet.
Yep. And too much talent there. Brandon Staley, he could be getting cut mid-season if it doesn't turn around. So definitely some games to be watching. Paul, what you got your eyes on?
Yeah, same thing as you mentioned. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing the Dolphins. They're going to be back home, so it'll be a good home game, which I'm sure they're going to be well received after playing like they have been playing. It's to your point. If the Broncos are struggling with defense, they're going to have a tough time in Miami with the offensive weapons that Tua has at his disposal. So either they get their act together, they're going to get hit in the face pretty hard with Tyreek and with Waddle. I mean, that's just what's going to end up happening. Beyond that, I think I'm just curious to see what's going to happen with the first road game at Temple for Miami, the Miami Hurricanes. That should be fun. But like Joe, the big game that everybody is going to be watching on Saturday, not so much on Sunday with the Cowboys, is going to be Notre Dame and Ohio State. I think it was JC that mentioned that. So that's gonna be a fun game. That's gonna be a classic game, I think, and I'm gonna look forward to 7:30 at night primetime game. College football, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah,
don't forget Colorado and Oregon. That's gonna be a good one too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I keep missing that because anyway. Anyway, whatever. Yeah,
man,
I'm not always looking for them.
We got to get a commission. Texas and Baylor. That's always going to be interesting. Penn State and Iowa. But, man, we got to get a commissioner in college football because some of these games are just – I mean, Tennessee's playing UTSA. I don't even know who that is. Georgia's played so many cupcake games. They ought to open a bakery this year. All these Georgia fans in my church floating around with their chest puffed out. I'm like, you beat a Powder Puff team. You barely beat South Carolina. So just pump the brakes here. I think that it's too bad Travis Hunter got hurt because this would have been the year where the college football across the board is just wide open. So anyway, a lot of interesting things to watch. Let's shift gears, fellas, to ministry and leadership. And before we jump into our question, JC, I'll give everybody a little backstory. It's kind of funny because my dad and I met you at Go Tell Camp back in 2010, 2011, maybe.
Sounds right.
At the time, we were living in North Carolina, and you were a student at Tennessee Temple. And then we came to Chattanooga, and you and Paul were at Temple the same time, and Adam, y'all were all there together. And then the semester we came, you shipped out to Truett McConnell. We're like, oh, no, the Bears leaving. And so anyway, we got a lot of Temple blood dispersed across the country. And correct me if I'm wrong, you are now the youth pastor at Lizelle Baptist Church outside of Macon, Georgia, correct?
Yes, Lizelle Baptist. That's right.
Lizelle Baptist. Very cool. Tell us a little bit about your church and your family, and just update us on you and your life.
So I started here. November will be 4 years. November of 19 was my first move here from. I was down in Florida. I came back up here. I was single when I came here, and when that crazy thing called COVID happened, I met my wife in the middle of all that when the country was shut down, when nothing was open. So I met my wife here, who's been here for 11 years. She went to Mercer, worked at a church across town. God brought us together in the middle of, again, just everything being shut down, no one meeting new people, everyone being apart, which was really, really cool story. So we've been married now for almost 3 years. It's been really cool having a partner to do ministry with when I've done student ministry for so long, single. And always love those questions about being single and the hiring processes. And so I'm glad I don't have to, if the Lord ever takes me away from here, I don't have to answer that anymore.
Yeah.
It's apart from COVID, getting through COVID, coming out of COVID, it's been sweet doing ministry here. I always thought I wanted to work at a really big church in a really big city. I grew up in a church, a very large church, multiple thousands of people, several hundred kids in our youth group. That's just what I knew. And so when Lizella came calling, it's much more of a mid-level church. We run about 500 on a Sunday, not a small church by any means, but just much smaller than what I'm used to. When they came calling, I was like, yeah, sure. I wasn't in ministry at the point. And I never thought this would be my speed, but now I can't imagine myself going back. It's such a sweet church. They've been so good to me and my family. Just getting to know the fabric of the culture of our entire church, not being siloed in my student ministry. When you get 100 high schoolers and you're running high school ministry and you're overseeing middle school, you don't really have a lot of time to look outside of that. That's a lot to manage. So I love being a part of all the things that are happening at our church. God's been really cool. Like, we're talking about culture today, and you know, we had an interesting culture when I got here, and there was a lot of brokenness that was here with some of our kids. I could tell they were hurting and very just closed off for a number of reasons, and there was a lot of division in the group, and they told me that, when I walked in the door. It's so cool to see where we are now, almost 4 years later, the unity in our group, the oneness, the togetherness. There's blurred lines between the groups, and the kids just all seem to enjoy each other and enjoy coming. It's been really sweet. It's been a sweet season of ministry. I think we're far from where we want to be, and I think there's a lot more we want to see happen here. But where we are in the season we're heading into, it's just I always look forward to coming to church, but I really look forward to being a part of what's happening upstairs with our students. We call our midweek service Best Night of the Week.
Cool.
Because that's what it is. It's the best night of the week. And every Wednesday night, it is my favorite part of the week. It's a long day, getting to that at the end of the day after starting in the morning, but I love it. I love seeing what God's doing in our students. I love seeing how he's using them and stirring them and growing them. And just, again, the unity that we have in our group. So it's been pretty cool.
Very cool. Very cool. Hey, before we jump into our question, real quick, Dad and Paul. Paul, I'll start with you. What do you now, seeing where he's at now? What do you remember about a young JC and his young ministry days on the campus of Tennessee Temple? And then, Dad, you seeing him in the camp days, seeing where he's at now. What's your mind take you to, Paul?
Man, honestly, I remember JC just having a really personable, encouraging heart around a lot of the folks and students. It was just fun being around JC. I don't think JC was anyone that everybody kind of like moved away from, but rather they enjoyed his company and all the rest. So that it's just really kind of neat to see that same kind of heart and spirit in JC even right now. And beyond that, I've never forgotten the Chewbacca thing that he does. That thing's still the most wonderful thing that
for those of you out there,
happens.
his real name is the Bear. Okay.
Yeah.
But when he's coming, you just hear it.
Yeah, you do. And it's just awesome. That, and me and JC, aside from his great personality, me and JC have a wonderful love for beards, and I'm just grateful for that. That is
nice. All. That's funny. Dad, what do you remember back in the camp days?
Well, before I met him, I heard about him.
Yeah.
And so whenever you hear as much as you hear about JC, then you're excited to finally meet him. And of course, everything was so true and came to life. But, you just saw his energy, his humility, his joy, always in a good mood. And so I knew that he was going to have a good ministry. And it's good to hear that he's doing so well in a loving church, and to have a bride and things going well for you. It's really exciting.
Very cool. So, JC, as we've been talking, one of the things that you've mentioned quite a few times and that's just come up naturally in conversation is this word culture. And this word has a lot of different meanings, whether outside of the church in the business world or on a sports team, but in the church as a whole, or in the different ministries, we know that this word culture carries a lot of weight. So we're going to talk about two parts of culture. At the end, we're going to talk about what are culture killers. But first, here's a question that I want to pose to you as a student pastor, but also somebody that sees the whole picture of the church. How can a church or a ministry build a healthy culture?
I think a lot of it has to do with vision and direction. And we're going through this in our church. Like, I think we have a really sweet and great church. I think we have awesome people that are good to us, that are very active in our community and make a difference around us. But in terms of vision, like, who do we want to be? I think a lot of churches struggle to identify that. Who do you want to be? Where are you going? How are you getting there? And it doesn't mean that God's not doing cool things in the midst of all that, because God certainly doesn't need our vision. He doesn't need a catchy 3-part, alliterated vision statement that looks good on a logo and a t-shirt. He doesn't need that to make life change happen and to bring about kingdom work. But those things do certainly help us go in the right direction to identify that and cast that vision to your people. And vision casting is challenging. It's difficult because at the moment that you think everyone is sick of hearing about whatever it is that you're trying to get across to them, they're just starting to hear it. So you gotta preach it all the time. You gotta point people back to it. For us, it's reach, disciple, serve. That's who we want to be as a church. We want to be a church that reaches, disciples, and serves. We went through a year-long process with a coach to kind of come up with that and have that direction in terms of who we wanted to be as a church. But I think vision is good because it helps trim the fat of what are some things you're doing that aren't helping you enact that vision, that aren't helping you drive the bus, if you will, in that direction. So I think it starts there. I think you have to know where you want to go and then communicating that to your people. I think for me in student ministry, you have to get good people around you that will help you carry that vision forward. I'd be foolish to think that I could do that on my own. So what I've found to be true in ministry, in many seasons where I've pulled the wagon on my own, I didn't recruit and train good leaders. I kind of just did a lot of the work myself. I found the value in finding good leaders, good people, whether they're parents or not, that are bought into who we're trying to be, what we're trying to instill in our students and the direction we're trying to take them in, and help those people that are going to help you pull the wagon along. Because we all know in a church, no matter what you're doing, you can't do it alone. You'll burn out. You might do it for a little while, but eventually you're going to burn out. So I think that's a good component of building healthy culture, is just knowing where you want to start. There's certainly a lot more elements to it, but just knowing the kind of church, the kind of ministry, the kind of group you want to be, and what it's going to take you to get there, so you can communicate that effectively to your people, I think is pretty important.
No, that's really good. One of the most mind-blowing mental pictures of culture is in the book Designed to Lead, when Eric Geiger talks about the 3 C's: culture, constructs, and conviction. And we know that conviction are the values that we have, and then constructs are the organizational infrastructure that make all that fit. And then culture is that thing, kind of like leadership. Sometimes it's hard to define, but it almost takes the values and the convictions that we have, and it mobilizes it, and it polices it. And so it's also fascinating to see the importance of culture in something like what we've been talking about all season with Deion Sanders, of a standard or an atmosphere or a belief. And sometimes in church world, whether you're going into a turnaround or a startup or something maybe that a church has just been dead for a season, or a ministry that's been, burned down for whatever reason, you have to build it back up. You're having to, I always think of culture as you're lighting that match, trying to get the pilot light to light, and you're trying to just breathe life into it. And culture is such a important dynamic. Paul, what comes to your mind when you think about building a healthy culture within a church?
Yeah. I mean, you guys are saying a lot of stuff that I would agree with. I think you guys are touching on some things that are helpful with images, and even getting a chance to kind of just hint at some possible toxic things that can disrupt, a healthy culture. I think honestly, it starts with the presumption already that you have in your question, which is, if you're building a healthy culture, it's because the leader himself is healthy. It would be really hard for that to happen if that leader can't look in the mirror himself and say, well, I don't even know what in the world, we should be doing, because of what you just mentioned in Eric Geiger's book, which is true. It's like, well, where are my convictions? Where am I health wise? Like, do I know precisely what this church needs to be doing, what the direction needs to be, diagnosing, if you've been there for a while, like yourself, what's happening, how am I effectively doing what I'm doing? Because if you can't figure those things out, then you're going to emulate something. You're going to build a culture. It just may be the wrong things that you're building in that you don't want to have within that church. And so I think it really does need to start with the individual. And then honestly, once you start emulating the very things that you count as important, as the things that you say, okay, these are the principles, these are, like JC mentioned, the three-lettered acrostic, right, things or whatever, these are the things that I want to be able to see happen within the church. Well, if that's going to be the case, and that means that you are in fact emulating those things because you believe them by conviction, and then to Eric Geiger's point, then you're going to build constructs that are going to continue to fuel that, so that they become the guardrails where if anything starts to kind of go beyond those things, you're pulling it right back and saying, if it's not fulfilling the mission or the vision of this church, then we're not, it's not that it's a bad thing. It's not that it's a horrible thing. It's not that it's a sinful thing. It's just, it's not the most effective thing for me to be doing right here, right now, so that we can fulfill what we have said. This is what's going to continue to perpetuate this kind of culture within our church. So like, for example, at Brainerd, it's deliver, disciple, deploy, right? So we're adamant to make sure that we're delivering the word, discipling the believer, and deploying the church. Well, we know how we're going to deploy. We know what we're wanting to do with the church, which is to equip them for the work of ministry. And we're unashamed of making sure that we deliver the gospel and we deliver authentic worship every Sunday and delivering the word of God through expository preaching. If it's not those things, it's not going to happen. We're going to continue to do that. And I bleed that. I love that. I believe in that. And I will continue to say, we deliver, we disciple, we deploy. But that's because hopefully at some place I'm emulating those things along the way.
And part of the reason you feel that in your bones is because you have been engulfed in that culture for a while, and it has become a part of your DNA and your the way you guys raise up people, and that's pretty cool to see the effectiveness of that culture. Dad, what comes to your mind? Seen a lot of good culture, bad culture, but let's talk on the positive side for a minute of building healthy culture. I know you coming from a church revitalization and where you're doing a lot of building. What's the first thing that comes to your mind here?
I mean, I like everything people are saying here, and really to simplify it a little bit, what came to mind was going back to head, heart, and hands, because and it all goes back to direction and unity. And so, if you're learning and growing biblically, and the Bible creates that direction. And then so you're learning, going back to knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, when everybody's learning together. So it's the mind, the knowledge, and then you have the heart with the atmosphere, the feelings, the deep understandings. And then you have the direction, and then where you can utilize these things and go out and be difference makers in our community. When those things begin to occur, then you actually begin to see transformation, because you see knowledge not just becoming knowledge, but wisdom, a way of life. And then those things become birthed within the church. And so we're all doing it together. And when then you take all these things that you're learning, you're doing, your heart's changing. So you're teaching what the Bible says, but you're also going into the heart of the Bible, the why, the importance of love, the importance of forgiving on the spot, the power of unity, the power of following after Jesus, and again, fighting for the heartbeat of who God is, not just the knowledge of who God is, and then taking all those things that you have learned, and then you go out and you make a difference in people's lives, you invest in them. They all come together, and then when they unite, then people want to gravitate toward that because they see something powerful going on. And so as people come into your church, as it grows, there's something that's just strong and powerful, and there's a love in the middle of it that people gravitated towards, and so they want to join that. It becomes bigger and bigger, and your just the whole atmosphere is so contagious. And then you go out into the world and you give it away. Well, when those things are happening, man, that's how you grow your church, and that's how you grow and what we're talking about here. Because it's just it's what people want to do and want to be. And then what happens is the Bible becomes alive in the church. And when the Bible becomes alive in the church, it has an effect on people. That's what I see culture as.
That's good. Before we transition our last part of that, Kerry Nyhoff says this. He says, think of it this way. And we've talked about various things, mission, vision, culture, and a lot of interchangeable. He says, mission is what you do. Vision is what you see, but church culture is how your church feels. It's the atmosphere, vibe, or climate of your church experienced by members, staff, etc. And so such a good picture of that. JC, I'll come to you. Let's shift. So we talked about how to build a healthy culture, but let's just be kind of blunt here. What are some culture killers that we see and that we face weekly in our churches and in our ministries?
I'll speak to two specific things. I'll be careful, not be too specific, but two specific things. I think one is negativity. I'll say negativity and lies. I'll speak to negativity first. A lot of times negativity comes in the form of people. The best part about ministry is not just serving Jesus, but serving people. But the most difficult part about ministry is also the people, because people are tough. People are human. People have agendas. People are not always Christ-like. They're not always godly in the way that they interact with church business and their pastors and their leaders. They're not always Christ-like in the way they go about expressing their frustration with gossip and not bringing things to you. So that's frustrating to me. If somebody's unhappy with something, it's frustrating. And it makes me think man, what have I done to feel like this person couldn't come share this thing with me? And so negative people can really kill culture. And so, how do you deal with that? You hope to win them. You hope to win them. Some people might say, well, just run them off. Well, no, you really want to win them, because you want those people to be the person that God's designed and created them to be. And when they're being negative and hurting God's church and God's body, that's not who God designed them to be. So you hope to win them. You hope to pull them back in. But if not, sometimes negative people just have to go. And I'm not saying you run them off. But I have seen in ministry points where sometimes to help establish your culture, really, truly, some people just have to go. And sometimes they just have to move on. Really, it's not a matter of, running them out. I've never been in a church, where we just ran people off. I'm not sure that's Christ-like. I think there's a right way to go about that. Matthew 18, there's a process you could certainly go through. I still have not seen a church do Matthew 18 well. I would love to see that one day, because I think more churches need to do that, but it's tough to be committed to doing that. So I would say negativity. The second thing would be lies. And this has less to do with people and more to do with the enemy. So killing culture will, how many times have you preached a sermon, led worship, led a meeting, and you left thinking that just stunk? I stink as a leader. I'm horrible. There've been times where even here, I have literally wondered, have I lost it? Can I not do this anymore? Do I have nothing to offer? Is anything I'm doing resonating with these students, with these people, with my church? And the reality is, yes, if we're being faithful to God's word, if we're being faithful to preach his word, to love his people that he's placed us to steward, I think that's what we need to be doing. And, culture, you can't microwave culture. I don't know where I heard this. I cannot take credit for it, but you can't microwave culture. You got to stick it in the oven and let it cook. It takes time. It takes time to build culture and develop good culture. And then you have to nurture it. And so for us as leaders and as pastors, pastor, leader, if you're out there and you're listening to this, don't believe the lies of the enemy. You're not nearly as bad as you think you are. You're not nearly as good as you think you are either. That's the flip side of the coin. Don't believe your own hype. Don't read your own press. We got to stay humble and even keeled to know that God certainly can be using us to make a difference, but we are not the reason that God's building his kingdom. It's because of him. It's because of his power that we're able to see life-changing kingdom work being done. And so I know for me, like, I'll share a quick story and I'll be done. When I left my former church, I had to resign and step down. There was a lot of stuff going on at home. It was a season where I felt like God was calling me out of the boat before he opened a door for me. And I really felt like I needed to go home to be with my family. My mom, there was a death in our family, and I just needed to be close to my mom. I needed to be home with family and loved ones in that season. And that's what brought me out of that to Lizella. In that season, I knew that I would be discouraged. And I knew that Satan would try to keep me out of ministry. I knew I was called to it. I knew I wasn't stepping out of it, but I did wonder if I was stepping out forever. So in that season, I got to say bye to a lot of students and a lot of people, but I didn't get to for everyone. And so people were sending me messages and texts and direct messages and all that good stuff. So I started an album on my phone, and I love you. I appreciate what you did, yada, yada, yada. I would screenshot that and I would drop it into an album that said, "When Satan tells me I suck." Hopefully I can say suck on your show. I did. I'm sorry. Maybe you'll have to edit that out
No,
later.
you're good.
But when Satan tells me I suck, and I look at that and add to it to this day. And the reason is because a lot of times Satan's going to tell me that I suck, that I stink. And I need to be reminded that that isn't true. I need to be reminded about who God says I am and who people, what also people see in me and the difference that I am making. And so I would challenge any pastor or leader, if anybody ever writes you an encouraging note, keep it.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it. If they give you a card for pastor appreciation next month, keep it. If they wrote something nice in there, keep it. Because one day you'll have to look at that to be reminded about the difference that you're making in people's lives. And that through all the things that you're doing and the challenges and the uphill battles and the struggle, that what you're doing matters. So what we're doing to impact people's lives, to give them the gospel, to lead them to be closer to Jesus, it matters. So whether it's children, students, adults, senior adults, no matter what it is, the things that we're doing matter. Leader, the things that you're doing matter. Don't give up. Don't lose heart. Don't believe the lies of the enemy, and don't buy into the negativity of people around you. That's what I would say.
That's good. The two that jump in my mind are entitlement within the church, battling our flesh and what we want versus what the Holy Spirit wants. That can really fight against it. And then the second one is when ministry gets siloed and there's no alignment within the mission, and this one has their mission and this one has their mission, and that just stifles it, and we can't move together. Those are the two that pop in my mind. Real quick, Paul and Dad, you go first. Paul, what are the ones that pop in your mind?
Yeah, I'll share a quick 60-second one on it, just because I gotta jump off. My little girl's got a soccer game. But here's the quick 60-second thing of it. I think one of the biggest toxic things that you can find that can kill culture is a lack of showing deference towards one another. So if showing deference towards others is a act of selflessness, to be able to think of another individual as higher than yourself, more important than yourself, that you're willing to put aside what may be preferential for you for the greater good of another individual. If you're not willing to do that, then what it is it's selfishness. That's what it really comes down to. And selfishness can be a really, really big detrimental thing towards a lot of churches, where it's, you want to put forth what you want to do and not consider either the individual, or you don't want to consider what may be the greater good within the church. And so you're just going to push right through without communicating, without thinking of the other person, without really being thoughtful, without ever considering, without ever wondering. And that can be really damaging towards the unity, towards the appreciation, towards the love, towards the thoughtfulness that you create, towards what you were saying, Joseph, of like, it's what you feel. Well, if you want to have a family atmosphere within your church that loves each other, cares for each other, thinks of each other, and it's willing to basically put their blinker on before they start switching lanes rather than just kind of crashing everywhere, then it comes down to just saying, how can we willingly show deference towards another brother and sister in Christ while I'm allowing my own selfishness to die for the greater good of what can come out of this situation. So that's what I would
That's
say.
good. Have healthy cultures in your churches and ministry. JC, we appreciate it. Hopefully your Gators will keep on chomping. Everybody have a great day. We'll see you later.